The following program contains important but graphic material. These topics are designed to foster discussion, but may be objectionable to some. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Exploited: Crimes Against Humanity. This program is a training program on human trafficking, sextortion, social media exploitation, and child pornography based on actual cases. Our mission is to eradicate human exploitation and bring predators to justice. Now, here is the host of the program, Opal Singleton.
Hello and welcome to Exploited: Crimes Against Humanity. This show is brought to you each week by Million Kids. That's right, it's 1 million kids are trafficked each year throughout the world. And we combat all kinds of human trafficking, labor trafficking, sextortion, child pornography, social media exploitation. Now, we're not 1 million kids, we're just simply million kids, and we'd invite you to follow us on Facebook. One of the most important things you can do if you want to stay educated about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit young people is to follow Million Kids on Facebook. So we're going to get started today because we have a guest, and I really think this could be really one of the most exciting shows that we have ever had. Her name is Donna Staples, and she's online with us. Donna, you want to say hello?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm hanging right in there, ready to go. Anyway, the name of your corporation is Tetrad Corp. Is that right? You want to spell that for us?
Yes, it's Tetrad Corp. It's Tetrad Corp, C-O-R-E.
Okay, and Donna, first of all, what is Tetrad Corp?
We are a group. It's a grassroots group that we pulled together. From years ago, we all worked together in a joint effort with Chris Hansen when he was doing a Dateline to Catch a Predator show. And
oh, wow.
Few of us
wow, that's cool. That's Chris from Dateline, and you worked with him?
I did. Well, I signed on after I read what he had done in Riverside. They had done a huge sting in Riverside, and it hit the Press Enterprise, and I read about it, and I thought, oh my goodness, I want to be a part of that. So I joined with that group, and I worked my way up, and eventually we all just went all our own way, and To Catch a Predator wasn't aired anymore. And so a few of us still kept in contact, and we were doing undercover things like going through Facebook and finding people who had were violating their probation by having Facebook accounts even though they were sex offenders. And so we were doing Cleanup Facebook where we would report them. So if we
Interesting. So let me stop you right there. First of all, for our audience here, because this is a global show, she is referring to Riverside, California, where we all live, at least. I believe Donna lives somewhere around here also. Anyway, beautiful Southern California. Anyway, this show goes out to more than 170 countries, so we want to make sure and clarify that. So you're just seeing this, you get yourself involved, and you realize one of the things you can do is help law enforcement determine if someone who has, if they're a sex offender, they're not allowed to have a Facebook page. Is that how that works? Or
yes. If they're a sex offender, sometimes their probation prohibits them from having any type of electronic device or
now, how
having
did you
access
determine
to it.
That?
Not just Facebook. They can't have any type of social media.
And how did you determine that that was their sentence?
We would just report it. And Facebook has their own set of rules, so you can report it. And if they find them on, in the United States, we have the Megan's Law. And if they were able to pull up their sex offender registry and determine it was them, they would close their accounts out.
Okay, so how do you know their probation said they couldn't have a Facebook account? Is that an individual thing, or is that across the board?
Yeah, it's an individual
sentences?
thing. And our investigator is phenomenal, and he would go in and find the records. They're all public access. So he would determine that, and then we would go through and then report what we could find. And if it was something significant where we saw you can see, like, if a predator has young girls or young boys as friends, we could even report it. We would go so far as to report it to the probation officers in that area.
Interesting. Now, are you still doing that?
When we have time, we do. It's, it's one of those things where this took off. So now we don't want to do anything small. So in between stings and working with the education department we're working with, we will also try and do those things.
I see. Okay. So give me an idea now where we go from here. What did you move to next?
Then we moved to Chris Hansen decided he was going to put together a show called Hansen versus Predator, which was along the same lines. And he contacted our investigator and said, I'm interested in this. Would you be interested? And he reached out to a few of us that had worked with him before that he knew worked really well together. Mm-hmm. And so we all got together and hashed out protocol and how we envisioned seeing this go differently, with the same objective as previously, but maintaining more of a professional, like, we don't post the chats that we see. We don't share a whole lot of information other than who the predator was and the sentencing. Because
okay, now I'm not following what is going on here. So you're looking at what kind of, like, sexual violation cases or human trafficking cases? What are you looking at?
No, these are actual just undercover stings. So what we do with him for his thing is he lines up law enforcement agencies that want to work with him. Uh-huh. And then if we don't have that, we introduce ourselves to law enforcement agencies that want to work with just us. Mm-hmm. And what we do is some of us create accounts and we are decoys. So we pretend to be children online.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I see.
So, I will be a 13-year-old girl online. Uh-huh. And then we go into different places, and it can be. And here's the scary thing, Opal: it can be anywhere. Mm-hmm. We found that I went into a social media thing that was completely anonymous. You don't need an email account. All you do is any thought that you have in your head, you type it out and you post it. But people in your area can find you, or they can message you to see if you want to talk. Mm-hmm. And so we found that one to be very heavily trafficked. Okay. Because when I went on, I posted a picture, and I think I wrote something like, I wish I had money to do all the things I see on Pinterest. Mm-hmm. And that was it. And I had man after man messaging me, how old are you? Mm-hmm. And I would say, I'm 13. And some would say, you're too young, and they would stop. Some would continue talking. Some would send their cell phones. And so we go from there. Mm-hmm. And, okay, what is this person looking for? And we let them do the talking. And eventually, if we find out that they want to meet the who they think is a child for sex, then that's when they come and they find law enforcement waiting for them.
Okay, so let me back up and clarify a couple of things here for our audience. First of all, Donna, are you a private investigator, or are people of your team private investigators?
No, we're just civilians.
Okay, but you are. What I don't want is the public all setting up to do this, because what we need to explain here is there are very serious protocols when you work with law enforcement that you have to follow.
We're trained to do these things. We took courses online, so we're trained to do it. We're just not private investigators. Okay. And what we do, we have a relationship with that law enforcement, but the protocols are very strict. And we do see people saying, I want to do this. It's not as cut and dry as I make it sound, because I'm not willing to share all of our protocols and all of our in-house what we do, because we don't want people imitating it, and we also don't want to tip off any predator that may be listening as to how we do the things that we do.
Right.
But I really
think
do
is one of the
encourage
most
people to
important.
not do this. There are a ton of predators out there.
Yes.
But this is not something, for one, it is something that is very mentally draining and emotionally taxing.
Yes.
But
One of the things I really want to stress to the listeners today is that Donna and this organization is doing this contractually with law enforcement. This is not just a group of housewives that have decided they're going to go out and find a predator and then try to turn them over to the police. These people are extremely well trained, they're experienced, they have backgrounds, they have relationships with law enforcement, because anytime that you work with law enforcement, you have to follow protocol. Absolute. Because if these cases are not followed by protocol, you can't get them through court, and law enforcement won't touch them. So I just want to really stress what Donna is talking about here is these people are professionals. They do this as part of their training and their relationships and interactions, and they do it in a way that they can make a case. Is that correct, Donna?
That's absolutely correct. We meet with the district attorneys of every law enforcement agency we work with. We find out what is acceptable by them. We then share our protocol. We work it together so that when we go in, there's not a question that anything we did was out of line. There's when we do these things, most of the time, in fact, this last thing, not one person fought this in court.
Good.
Because our protocol is so solid, and we work so well with law enforcement. But and I understand people's inherent need to say, I want to help and I can do this. Right. And on the outside, it does look that way. But to be honest, on the inside, it is not that way. There's many hours.
Yes, I know.
many hours.
Boy, I get it, Hey, we're coming up against a hard break here, so I'm going to cut in on you, and we'll get back to this in a couple of minutes as we go through our break. This show is brought to you each week by Million Kids. We thank you so much for following. Hey, do you know that this show is archived at exploitedcrimes.com? And if you want to share this show with all your friends, it's on there. It's on there for probably perpetuity. I can't promise that. Anyway, go to exploitedcrimes.com, look up this episode for this date, and you can share that with everybody you know. In fact, you can, if you run your own website, can actually get an embed code of this show. There's no charge for it, and you can share this show all over the world right on your own Facebook site. We thank each and every one of you that contact us and let us know who you are and how you're affected by this show and what is happening, and all the people that actually write in and tell us if they have a situation that needs to be reported. Okay, we're up against this break here, folks. We're going to ask you to stay with us, and we're going to be right back.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit facebook.com/Voice America.
Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers is the most important book a parent will read this year. Human trafficking is one of the fastest growing crimes in America. 3 out of 4 victims are U.S. citizens. Most are our young people who have been lured into prostitution by a boyfriend or girlfriend or hook up with a newfound love on the internet. Sometimes they are victims of blackmail as a result of sending a revealing photo. Sometimes it's catastrophic. Opal Singleton, president of Million Kids, has written a powerful book for parents, educators, civic leaders, and first responders about how predators use social media, apps, chat rooms, video games, and the dark web to access, groom, recruit, and exploit young people. It is truly a must-read for every parent, grandparent, and teacher in America. Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers will help you understand how technology makes an innocent teen vulnerable to predators and how to talk to teens to keep them safe. Priced at $15.99 plus $4 shipping, Seduced can be ordered at millionkids.org. Share this with everyone you know.
BMW of Riverside. There's no place like it. From the moment you step into our showroom, you are transported to a world where our professional staff is dedicated to delivering the ultimate in customer care and service. We understand that each individual has their own driving needs, so whether it's your first BMW or your fifth BMW, we consistently deliver the ultimate in customer satisfaction. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or online at bmwofriverside.com.
Have you friended us on Facebook yet? Why not? Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for the keywords Voice America. Once you are part of our Facebook network, you'll receive daily messages about what's happening with our shows, this week's featured guests, and new happenings at the Voice America Talk Radio Network. And you can add your voice to the always active discussions on our timeline. Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for Voice America.
You are listening to Exploited, Crimes Against Humanity. If you have a question or comment, please send an email to opal@millionkids.org. That's OPAL @millionkids.org. Now, back to Exploited, Crimes Against Humanity. Here again is Opal Singleton.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes Against Humanity. My name is Opal Singleton. I am the host of this show. And as you know, this show is brought to you by Million Kids. We are the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County. That is Riverside County, California, in beautiful Southern California. And it is a gorgeous day. Anyway, we are the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. We go out, we've trained well over 100,000 people now, all about human trafficking, social media, sextortion, and child pornography. Well, we have an interesting guest today, and I'm really, really excited. Her name is Donna Staples, and she's part of a group called Tetrad Core. And they got their start, in case you're just jumping in on this, working with Chris Hansen in the Dateline to Catch a Predator. They took that to helping law enforcement, and they have a law enforcement relationship. And I really want to stress this. We don't want all of you out there doing this on your own, kind of homegrown. These people are trained experts. They have worked with law enforcement. They're contracted with law enforcement. They conduct reverse stings, meaning just like Catch a Predator. And those are not easy to conduct, believe it or not. It isn't as simple as just catching somebody. This has to be done in such a way that it will hold up in court and that law enforcement will accept that case and that they can actually go out and get a predator and make a case that will stick in court. So all of this requires a great deal of protocol and discipline to make this happen. So Donna, you were telling us that you're setting up these reverse stings now on the internet. Give me the whole background of what that looks like, how you do it, who you find, what's it all about?
Well, we don't target any specific. When we go into Sting, we never know who we're going to meet or what we're going to find.
And there's some weirdos.
Yeah, we expect that. And sometimes I'll tell you, no matter how much I've done this, I get blown away by the people that you see. And I know that sometimes we think, okay, it's the person in the basement, the hermit that stays away, that one creepy person, and oftentimes it's not.
Yeah,
and that's what makes it so dangerous, is that these people are often wealthy, educated, in family situations, and they don't look like somebody who would say the things to a 13-year-old that no 13-year-old should hear.
That's right.
And so we went in, and this last time we worked, we caught guys that were from the age of 19 to 64.
Right.
And the 64-year-old, the decoy that met him, he was also a distributor of child porn. Mm-hmm. He sent some to her. And so, again, we didn't reach out looking for a child pornographer. However, this person found her. Mm-hmm. And so when we do things, we collaborate with the law enforcement agency we're going to work with. Mm-hmm. We find out what the laws are, because each county has different laws when it comes to online pedophilia, talking to young kids, what they send. So we look and ask the DA, okay, what are your biggest laws? What things will help, do we look for? Mm-hmm. So then we set up our ages, and we set up how we're going to go in, and then we pick different apps, things mm-hmm. that we may hear our kids using, or things we may read off of your website. Mm-hmm. And we'll go in and we'll just be who we are. Mm-hmm. And so I can give you an example. Like I said, I used the app Whisper, and mm-hmm. I had several men contact me. And they would then either push me over to the app called Kick, mm-hmm. because that disappears eventually, or they would give me their cell phone numbers. Mm-hmm. Now, then they would also spoof their cell phone numbers so they weren't actually their real cell phone numbers. So then we would get as much information as we can. We give it to our investigator, Will, who is, I can't say enough about him. He is phenomenal because mm-hmm. he can find people that really work hard to not be found. Mm-hmm. And that's the important part, is IDing these people. And the one thing we make sure we don't do, and this is what I want to explain again to the audience, we understand that this is a horrible crime. We also understand that there's a secondary victim because these people have families.
That's
and
right.
These families do not know what these men are doing mm-hmm. most times. And we want mm-hmm. to make sure that we are not harming them any more than what's going to be harmed when they find out what their loved one is doing, mm-hmm. if that makes sense. So let
me just stop you on that, Donna. I so much appreciate this because, it's very easy to be an activist and just kind of do a broad swath of this deal,
Yes.
But these are people's lives. These people have children. They have parents. Now, they have wives and husbands. There are women child pornographers out there.
Yes.
And, one of the things that you have to be very careful of, and this is the reason why I stress these people, Tetrad, are professionals that do this legally within the state of the law, because if you go out there as an individual and you try this on your own and you get the wrong person and you're wrong, you can be sued and lose everything you own because that's slander.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's hard enough for them to face this. We do not believe in shaming. And we've seen some of the shows on YouTube where these people will go out, they'll attempt to do what we do, but they do it in such a way that is not our protocol. We would never, ever do a sloppy job like we've seen on YouTube.
Yes,
and we see them humiliate these people. And mm-hmm. then their families are out there. The Internet has no secrets. So mm-hmm. once these men are identified, then they're finding their wives, their children, their grandchildren. And mm-hmm. that has to be horrifying.
Yes.
And I think it's undignified.
Let me kind of do a little, and oh goodness, I forgot to shut my house phone off. Let me do a little kind of, I don't know, exhortation, if you will, a minute. What we're talking about here are people that are conducting what we call sextortion, or they're doing child pornography, if that's not clear to our audience. In other words, they're either people that are trying to meet up with a young kid, get photos of them so that they can blackmail them, photos that they can put out and sell to other perpetrators, or in many cases they're looking to meet up and have sex with a minor, or a wide variety of other subjects. And so we want to understand it is possible that they're child pornographers and they want to get these photos and sell them down in the dark web. So, the families, what she's referring to is the families, will have no idea what this perpetrator is doing.
So what we do is we make sure that we consider the families. We understand that they are going to be hurt. So we limit what we do. Our scope is just about the person. Yes, we find out about their families, but we don't put anything out there. That's why on our website, people always say, we want to see the chat logs. We want to read what they wrote you. We're never going to do that because we are considering the families, and this is our protocol. we're not here to embarrass. We are here to do a job. And that job is to help law enforcement keep the Internet safe from online predators. And
so
if we can get one...
Go ahead.
If we can get one put away, we get one. And the one thing we do say, though, is when we get these predators, this is not the first time they talked. And this may not be the first girl they reached out to. And one man I was speaking to, I knew he was talking to other girls because we could see it on different media things he used. And because once we identified him, it was easy to follow what he did. And so our fear was he's talking to somebody real. You know, I'm probably the only adult. Every other girl is probably young. And so we need to make sure that we can get them offline before they actually have the potential to harm somebody.
Yeah, I want to go back to the person that they're tracking here, the person that they're finding on the Internet. We acknowledge that we want to do this legally and that we want to protect their families, and we want to make sure we're right. The last thing we want to do is ensnare someone who is innocent. Having said that, I want to go back to what Donna is saying and say that this segment, and we're coming up against a break shortly, and we'll go into it the next segment, but these people are people that live amongst you. They are not the monsters that you're thinking is going to, look like an absolute monster. I have been tracking child pornographers now for probably 6 years. And, of course, I understand that I'm doing this from public record, and the headline never says ditch digger is picked up for child pornography. The headline says, school superintendent is picked up for child pornography. But so I get that the numbers and the tracking that I do is biased based on public record. However, it's really always amazing to me that 40% of the people that's announced in the paper are related to a school. Now, these are people you're going to trust. It might be as simple as a school aide, but sometimes it's a school board member or a school superintendent, the sports coach, a teacher, a history teacher. It's amazing to me the number of these people that are not only related to schools, but pastors, pediatrician, and policemen. Yes, sometimes it's policemen. So as Donna is saying, what we want to point out here is they are amongst us. And, how do you find them? And that's why I admire what Donna is doing and the rest of Tetrad Corps is doing here. Now, they're doing it legally and they're assisting. And one of the reasons that's so important to me is law enforcement has so many of these cases. It is very difficult for them to be able to process it all. Well, we're up against that break, folks. So we're going to ask you to stay with us. Be sure and share this show with everyone you know. And if you'll stay with us, we'll be right back.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit facebook.com/Voice America.
Seduced: The Grooming of America's Teenagers is the most important book a parent will read this year. Human trafficking is one of the fastest growing crimes in America. 3 out of 4 victims are U.S. citizens. Most are our young people who have been lured into prostitution by a boyfriend or girlfriend or hook up with a newfound love on the internet. Sometimes they are victims of blackmail as a result of sending a revealing photo. Sometimes it's catastrophic. Opal Singleton, president of Million Kids, has written a powerful book for parents, educators, civic leaders, and first responders about how predators use social media, apps, chat rooms, video games, and the dark web to access, groom, recruit, and exploit young people. It is truly a must-read for every parent, grandparent, and teacher in America. Seduced: The Grooming of America's Teenagers will help you understand how technology makes an innocent teen vulnerable to predators and how to talk to teens to keep them safe. Priced at $15.99 plus $4 shipping, Seduced can be ordered at millionkids.org. Share this with everyone you know.
BMW of Riverside. There's no place like it. From the moment you step into our showroom, you are transported to a world where our professional staff is dedicated to delivering the ultimate in customer care and service. We understand that each individual has their own driving needs, so whether it's your first BMW or your fifth BMW, we consistently deliver the ultimate in customer satisfaction. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or online at bmwofriverside.com.
Have you friended us on Facebook yet? Why not? Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for the keywords Voice America. Once you are part of our Facebook network, you'll receive daily messages about what's happening with our shows, this week's featured guests, and new happenings at the Voice America Talk Radio Network. And you can add your voice to the always active discussions on our timeline. Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for Voice America.
You are listening to Exploited, Crimes Against Humanity. If you have a question or comment, please send an email to opal@millionkids.org. That's OPAL at millionkids.org. Now, back to Exploited, Crimes Against Humanity. Here again is Opal Singleton.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes Against Humanity. My name is Opal Singleton. This show is brought to you each week by Million Kids. And today we have a guest. Her name is Donna Staples. She's with Tetrad Corps, and they are an organization that do what we call reverse stings, undercover work supporting law enforcement. So let me give you a notice here, folks. Don't do this at home. But I thought you would like to know exactly how all of this works. Now, we're going to give you a heads up here. Donna is calling in from her work, and in about 2 or 3 minutes, a big bell's going to go off, so brace yourself, okay? We can't stop it. But I thought it was worth it for you all to hear about how all this happens. So, Donna, you're doing these reverse stings, and for our public audience here that might not understand, especially those people overseas, what Donna is doing is she has a contract, she works with law enforcement, or she has private parties that contract with her, and what they do is they go online and they will pretend to be a minor, and they attract people who are either pedophiles, that are child pornographers, or someone who wants to meet up with someone. And they know how to do this, and they know how to do this in a way that they can make a legal case. Is that correct, what you're doing there?
Yes. When we do stings, we never know who we're going to get. And like I said, we never set up a sting where we are targeting. We don't target anybody. We go on. Whether we get anybody or not, we just create the decoys, and we just work a sting.
Okay, so
sadly, because we don't target them, the sad thing is we always get somebody. And sometimes there'll be people who want to have sex. Some people want to have sex and record it so that they can sell it. Mm-hmm. Some people want to record it to blackmail. But the intention is always that each man that shows up at these stings has the intention of having sex with a minor.
So, Don, if you have a family whose child is being targeted and for whatever reason they're feeling like nobody's paying attention to it legally, do you take private cases from individual families? We don't.
We don't do that. What we do is we recommend, if they're not taking, if law enforcement isn't looking into it, which anymore, thankfully, isn't always the case, we will contact people. We do have other contacts. We did have to reach out last time to Homeland Security, and we had to reach out to NCIS because of who we were dealing with. So we all have different contacts in our areas, and we will never target a person.
Yeah, I do the same thing here because I work with the Human Trafficking Task Force, but there is a safe group in Riverside for the DA's office. But truthfully, all of these people, first of all, a lot of law enforcement, and I'm not talking about our guys, I'm talking about small town cops. They're not, number one, prepared, and number two, they maybe don't take it as serious as it is. And number
Right.
three is so many of our agencies are so overloaded with this kind of thing. I mean, I know that our own SAFE group here in Riverside County can barely take on one more case. This is happening in such big numbers, and so it's just so important for parents to understand how this is happening so that you can educate your kids. And
Yes.
and that's why I go into schools and educate.
Yes, we do the same, and I've spoken at schools. I know our investigator has spoken at schools, and I know our other decoy Kelsey has gone into different areas in her town to speak. So not even just schools, in local places where there are like mommy and me things, or where mothers get together for group networking, because we have to educate the parents. And the one thing parents do not like to hear is, there's no need for your 10-year-old to have a cell phone with internet access. There is no need. Sometimes we open the door for these strangers to come in our home.
No kidding.
So we tell them, you know what, your kid does not need a computer in his room. Keep it in a high traffic area. I can't tell you how many times a man has sent me a nude picture of him. I just turn on my computer, and you don't even have to ask, and you're getting inundated with nudes. And so, for me, I'm like, wow. And I'm a grown woman, but these people, it's fast, and that's just not what we want our children to see. Right. And these pedophile networks are substantially big.
Oh, they are. Let me take a second there and tell our audience that we just had a case on our Facebook page on Me and Kids where they were targeting prepubescent teens. Now, why a prepubescent girl is allowed in a video chat room by herself, I'm not sure. But there were a ring of 6 guys in 6 different states, and these kids all thought they were sending naked photos of themselves being lured in by these men, thinking that they were a young guy that was hot to them. And there were 6 different guys, and not one of these kids understood they were talking to 6 different men. So that's why what you do is so important.
Right. And it's scary because they don't. And when I give my talks, I always tell these kids, you think you know who you're talking to, but I got to tell you, every man I talk to believed they were talking to a 13-year-old girl.
Right.
And I said, here I am. I said, if any of those cases had gone up to trial and I had to testify, which we didn't because our evidence is solid, because we follow strict protocol with the DA and the law enforcement agency we're working with. But had I had to testify, I think every person that thought I was a 13-year-old girl would just flip when they saw me come in.
Sure.
Because
you bet.
It's such a different thing. And I said, if I can do that, what do you think they're doing?
Oh, absolutely.
It's easy to be anybody online.
Oh, it is. It's just amazing the impact that the internet has on our psyche. One of the questions I have, you mentioned that you were on Whisper. Do you do most of your work through apps, or do you get into online gaming chat rooms?
I'm trying to work on the gaming chat rooms. I just have to learn how to play the games. But my husband actually told me, he said, I was online doing something, and all of a sudden I got the weirdest message. And we looked, and I said, yeah, because they can contact you from there. Even things as simple as, it's not even just apps. If you go into the Disney website, if you go into Nickelodeon, any kid, and I'm talking prepubescent kids, websites, they're going to have pedophiles that are trying to chat with the kids. And we know that because when we used to work with a group that had pedophile forums that they would monitor. And we would see that these men had ages of attraction, and they would share their information. For example, they would say, okay, a certain young person's concert is going to be at Riverside Auditorium, so that if anybody was in that area, they were giving them the heads up. I mean, it is the tip of the iceberg what we do.
Interesting.
And there is, for every step we take, there's always somebody there. For every person we remove off the internet, there's two people waiting for that spot.
Right.
So it's really up to parents to be vigilant. And it's okay to tell your children, no, you don't need those apps. It's okay to give a child, especially when under 12, give them a flip phone.
Mm-hmm.
If you're worried about them not having, not being able to reach you, give them an old phone.
Mm-hmm.
But these smartphones are dangerous when
Mm-hmm.
in the hands of a young person. And when you think that you've taught them everything, they're still susceptible. Because kids aren't always going to be, forthcoming with information. And these men that groom are fabulous at it.
One of the studies that I saw is in case after case, once a kid gets snagged by a pedophile where they've already given the first photo, that they're so afraid of the rejection of the parent that they'll keep feeding the pedophile more photos in the hopes that they don't ever have to tell their folks. And of course that is just the opposite. It just gets worse and worse and worse until your child is owned by that pedophile.
Yes. And they know how to do it. And the grooming techniques are always different.
Mm-hmm.
Some just try and be that Captain Hero kind of person. And some are meticulous and
Mm-hmm.
they take their time, but they know. And they seek, what is it that girl needs? And that's the need I'm going to fill for her.
Mm-hmm.
And as an adult, I can see it. But yet, when I knew that the person I was talking to expected me to text at a certain time. Now, I have a family, but I made sure I was texting at that time.
Sure.
And I would clear things, and I thought, my God, I've been groomed.
Mm-hmm.
I need to do this. and I said, whoa, I think I need a day off because I'm not doing this. But if that can happen to an adult, for children, it is so much more, because at this point, as teenagers, you're wanting that acceptance. You're wanting to be made to feel special. They go to high school and they may be struggling in areas, and here these guys fill that need.
Oh, it's absolutely true. I always say that the internet is like this huge fantasy relationship, and kids feel like what they do on there, it's okay because it's not in a real world. And even adults, you find yourself sitting behind a computer, you will say and send things you would never normally do in person. And you deny your normal instincts, you overcome your natural inhibitions. And I always say that's the only explanation for Anthony Weiner. Okay.
Yes.
It's because he got caught. He's a serial being caught,
Yes.
Anyway, it's an
like,
interesting.
At what point are you going to stop?
I know. How many times do you have to get caught? But we finally got him off the street in prison. But that's what people do on the internet. Adults do it and kids do it. And it's a crazy world we live in. We are up against our break here, folks. So we're going to ask you to stay with us and be sure and share this show if ever chance you get. We appreciate it. Write to us at Opal@MillionsKids. We appreciate your comments. We're up against that break. We're going to be right back. Thanks.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit Facebook.com/Voice America.
Seduced: The Grooming of America's Teenagers is the most important book a parent will read this year. Human trafficking is one of the fastest growing crimes in America. 3 out of 4 victims are U.S. citizens. Most are our young people who have been lured into prostitution by a boyfriend or girlfriend or hook up with a newfound love on the internet. Sometimes they are victims of blackmail as a result of sending a revealing photo. Sometimes it's catastrophic. Opal Singleton, president of Million Kids, has written a powerful book for parents, educators, civic leaders, and first responders about how predators use social media, apps, chat rooms, video games, and the dark web to access, groom, recruit, and exploit young people. It is truly a must-read for every parent, grandparent, and teacher in America. Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers will help you understand how technology makes an innocent teen vulnerable to predators and how to talk to teens to keep them safe. Priced at $15.99 plus $4 shipping, Seduced can be ordered at millionkids.org. Share this with everyone you know.
BMW of Riverside. There's no place like it. From the moment you step into our showroom, you are transported to a world where our professional staff is dedicated to delivering the ultimate in customer care and service. We understand that each individual has their own driving needs, so whether it's your first BMW or your fifth BMW, we consistently deliver the ultimate in customer satisfaction. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or online at bmwofriverside.com.
Have you friended us on Facebook yet? Why not? Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for the keywords Voice America. Once you are part of our Facebook network, you'll receive daily messages about what's happening with our shows, this week's featured guests, and new happenings at the Voice America Talk Radio Network. And you can add your voice to the always active discussions on our timeline. Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for Voice America.
You are listening to Exploited, Crimes Against Humanity. If you have a question or comment, please send an email to opal@millionkids.org. That's OPAL at millionkids.org. Now, back to Exploited, Crimes Against Humanity. Here again is Opal Singleton.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited, Crimes Against Humanity. My name is Opal Singleton. I am the host of this show. We come to you every week at 7 a.m., except for this week because we're on 7 a.m., but this is pre-recorded. That's because I have a prayer commitment. But normally, this is live, and normally you can call in. Anyway, this show is archived at exploitedcrimes.com. I hope that you will share it with everyone. We have a great guest today. Her name is Donna Staples. She's with Tetrad Corps, and they're an organization that conducts professional reverse stings on the internet, and they started with To Catch a Predator, and now their organization does this with law enforcement all across the nation, and she's telling us some of her inside secrets here. So, Donna, keep going. Tell us anything you want us to know in this last segment.
Okay. So one thing that we want you to know is if you're interested in looking at the educational part of what we're doing, we also are aligning ourselves with a group. That go into schools, local schools in the Southern California area, but I believe they're also extending out nationwide, and they create different types of curriculum for grades K through 12. And it can be math or English or whatever, but they've reached out to us and want to collaborate to create a curriculum to teach online safety. So that's going to be a new venture for us because we want to, we recognize pedophiles and predators are not going to go away. So the best way to help keep kids safe is to educate them on what can happen. So if you go to our website at tetradcorps.com, you can read about the educational parts and the steps that we're taking. You can also find us on Facebook at Tetrad Corps and give us a like if you want. And we try and keep things up. We don't post when we're going to do stings because that doesn't help. We don't share a whole lot of those things. But we do try and get across things that we might be finding. You know, when we're contacted by law enforcement, we don't share that. You know, there's a lot of things we don't do. People see us for what we do with Hansen versus Predator, which working with Chris Hansen is nice. But that's one small aspect of what we do. And that's what makes us different is that's a small part. But our main focus is the education, and it is the teaching parents, parent workshops at schools. I've done a parent workshop. I will speak anywhere in Southern California I can on the dangers of online pedophilia. Right. I know that our investigator has done the East Coast and the south part, And I know, some of our speakers we're all over the place. And our goal is educate any way that we can.
Okay. Especially I would think if you're a private school, that would be very, very important for you to be able to do it because you can approve the curriculum very quickly and get it implemented. But certainly being able to set up assemblies and public parent symposiums and that kind of thing. And the cool part is you're a national organization, and this is actually it's an international show. And so you do have people that can go out, and I do know we have listeners back east. I hear from them regularly, especially up in New York is a common one up in that area. So we appreciate it. If you, again, Donna, give us how they reach you for that, if they want to do that.
They can email us at tetradcore@gmail.com.
And that's TETRAD. TET,
yes.
Like Tom Edward Tom, RAD David, Tetrad Core.
Yes. And they can find us on Facebook at the same place at Tetrad Core.
Okay. So in what you do, are there any particular apps that you think are more easily used for recruiting that really you think are apps that kids really ought to stay away from?
Yes. Instagram, Snapchat, all the popular ones. I hate Snapchat. And because you put yourself out there and there's so much access.
Yep.
And so those are the popular ones that the kids seem to be using. And it's okay if you're aware and you don't, any kid, I always tell kids, if you have 1,000 friends on Facebook, you may want to clean up your Facebook. Nobody knows 1,000 people. If you're a group or an organization, that might be one thing. But you don't have 1,000 friends. But once you add one, and then you're adding somebody because somebody knows somebody, you're inviting those strangers to look at your pictures. You're inviting people into your life that you would not normally, you're inviting them into your home.
Right.
And you would not normally do something like that.
I often say that in my presentations. You take an app like Musical.ly, where they encourage you to have 75,000 followers so you can be the next Katy Perry and be discovered. If only 1% of 75,000 followers are pedophiles, just think about taking your little 11-year-old daughter and walking her through a room with 750 pedophiles and letting her get acquainted. That's exactly what you're doing.
And it's there. And I don't know, I don't know where the break is between what a parent, recognizes, okay, yes, I'll keep my kid off of Facebook. I'll keep them off of this. That will protect them. But I'm going to let them do A, B, and C. Pedophiles will find a way.
Mm-hmm. It really does come down to preparing your children to understand. Don't be low-hanging fruit. When I was in a school at 7 a.m. yesterday, and we talked about don't be low-hanging fruit. These guys are looking for availability and vulnerability. So don't be available and don't be vulnerable. Know who you are, what you stand for. I always tell our kids, I want them so tough, they look at these guys in the eye and tell them to flip off or some other less Christian term. I don't care what they use, okay?
Exactly.
Just don't be low-hanging fruit. And I believe that that's a dialogue that you have to start with parents.
You do. And you have to recognize parents, they're not going to tell you everything.
Yes.
So don't accept what is just given to you. Fight more. And if you feel like you need to add key codes or anything onto your internet plan, if your child has to have that internet, add, there are programs out there that will allow you to see who your child's conversing with.
Well, that's good. We are coming to the end of this show, folks. I want to thank Donna Staples from Tetrad for being on with us today. We really, really appreciate it. This is a very serious issue. I see cases like this all week long in my business working with the task force, and I can tell you that we must take this on. We thank you each and every one for following us this week. Be sure and share the show with everyone you can know. You can access this show at exploitedcrimes.com for the archived part of it. Be sure and follow Million Kids on Facebook. And I want to take a minute out there to thank each and every donor that makes this possible. It is our absolute desire to educate people all over the world for free at no cost, to be able to provide them right now more than 50 hours of free training on this subject. And we are able to do it because of the generosity of supporters just like yourself. You can donate to the show if you want and to our organization. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. You can do that by going to www.millionkids.org and hitting the button donate. Donna Staples from Tetrad, we appreciate you being on with us today, and I thank each and every one of you for listening. We will see you next week.
Thank you for tuning in this week to Exploited, Crimes Against Humanity. Please join your host, Opal Singleton, for another edition next Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Variety Channel. We'll have another important discussion next week.